The show opens up as a poorly kept spaceship named Raza floats in deep space. Inside, sparks fly, steam rises, and a robotic voice exclaims that the life support is at 15%. The handsome guy emerges, frightened and confused, from his sleeping pod. He runs through the ship, apparently looking for information. Soon afterwards, a gorgeous, tough-looking woman emerges from her pod. She finds the first guy looking at the ship's computer and pushes him out of the way. The woman then presses a button to restore life support to its full capacity. Following this, a gritty-looking guy appears, holding 2 flashlights and demands to know who the other 2 are. However, everybody agrees that none of them know their identities, indicating that these characters actually don't know their own names. Next, more residents wake up in their sleeping pods. A sleek-looking bald guy, a super muscular man with a goatee, and a teenager with turquoise hair. Nobody knows their identity or how they ended up in outer space. The gritty dude finds a corridor that leads them to the main part of the ship, and the tough woman reveals that she was able to get the ship back online and restore its auto-repair protocol. However, she has yet to learn how she knew to do that. Soon after, the handsome guy suggests that they should be named by the order in which they woke up. Hence, he is 1 as he woke up the first, while the tough woman is 2. The gritty man with the flashlights is 3. The bald man is 4. The turquoise-haired teenager is 5. And super muscular man is 6. The group then surmises that they are the crew on a transport vessel doing a long-range haul. Furthermore, they conclude that their ship must have encountered technical difficulties, although this does not explain their lack of memory. After a while, 3 opens a crate in which there are a bunch of firearms. 2 then suggests everyone explore the ship in pairs. Hence, 2 and 5 head to the main computer room, hoping to fix the system, while 3 and 6 find the cockpit. Elsewhere, 1 wonders why 2 was able to remember how to use the ship's computer when he couldn't. He also wonders how long they were in their sleeping pods. Furthermore, he points out that their entire memories weren't erased. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to know what a pod was, or a year, or even have language abilities. On the other hand, 4 leads them to what appears to be a training room, where he shows off some impressive sword fighting abilities. In another room, 3 finds a pod containing a blonde, sleeping woman, who soon opens her scary eyes. Meanwhile, 2 is working on the computer when it initiates some kind of security protocol. The scene cuts back to the formerly sleeping woman, who proceeds to soundly beat 3 and 6. With no other way out, 6 communicates to 2 that they're under attack. In the meantime, 1 arrives and tries to get the blonde woman from behind, but she swats him across the room. 4 tries to use his fancy sword moves on her, but she dodges his attacks with ease. Eventually, 2 figures out that the woman must be part of the ship's security protocol and deactivates her. Following this, 2 reveals that the formerly sleeping woman is an android, a humanoid robot whose biosynthetic physiology is similar to that of the ship's outer hull. By this point, it is quite clear that 2 is smart. On the other hand, 3 wants to lock the android away, but 2 says that she's deprogrammed her security command and rebooted her so that she is no longer a threat to the gang and could prove useful. She apparently has a neural link to the ship's mainframe, allowing her to repair the ship and potentially its computer's memory. On learning the android is linked into the ship's system, the crew ask for any information on the ship and its passengers. When they learn the data has been intentionally deleted, they are unsure who to suspect. Separating from the group, 4 visits the cargo hold. There he opens a locker and removes a secret panel at the back, revealing a small mysterious box. While the android shows 2 how to complete maintenance, they pick up another ship on their long-range scanner. The ship fires 2 missiles at the Raza. Performing evasive maneuvers, the android is able to avoid collision with the missiles. However, during this time the artificial gravity is affected and 5 is injured. Grouped in the med lab, the crew learn the android was able to recover some of the lost data, including the ship's original destination. It is headed towards an inhabited world, which freaks out everyone. After setting a course, the crew gets some much-needed rest. While resting, 1 discovers a pendant in his sleeping quarters. When the Raza enters orbit, several of the crew board a shuttle, a Phantom-class Marauder. 2 and 5 stay behind, while the others make their way down to the planet in the Marauder. On arriving, the crew are greeted by residents of the mining colony at gunpoint. After stating they didn't arrive to hurt anyone, they all agree to lower their weapons. The colony residents, Nassin, Keely, and Myril, tell the crew they are expecting hostiles at any moment. A race called the Raza, who are half human, half reptile, and 7 feet tall. They are hired by Multicore to take out problems such as the colony, who have found themselves on a gold mine. A corporation known as Ferris Corp wants the residents removed. This enables them to use their land to house their own miners so they can stake a claim on an asteroid belt nearby. When asked how the colony plans to defend itself, Nassin informs the crew they purchased a shipment of weapons which they plan to use to defend themselves. Ready to leave, 3 and 4 head to the Marauder with supplies from the colony. One stops to speak to Myril, asking her about a pendant she is wearing. Myril tells him the pendant is a symbol of freedom against repression, and that it will be worn by the people coming to help them. The pendant is identical to that one found in his sleeping quarters. Heading back to the ship, he confronts the crew, stating they are meant to help the colony. Once back on the main ship, a vote is held to decide whether they should provide assistance or keep the weapons. After much discussion, it is decided half the weapons will go to the colony, and half will be kept. Several of the crew load up the Marauder with weapons ready to take to the colony. 2 and 5 meet the android on the bridge, and she announces she has uncovered more of the lost data. The first piece is a corrupted image of an unknown man. The remaining information is names and background information for 6 of the 7 crew members. On seeing the information, 2 and 5 are notably distressed. 2 then calls over the communication line for the crew to come to the bridge immediately. On arrival, the android shows the data which reveals each of the crew is a criminal, and the Raza is not a race, it is the name of their ship. They are the crew of the Raza who were sent to kill the colony residents. The Raza crew discuss the revelation of their identities as dangerous criminals sent to kill the miners. 4 says that their pasts don't matter as they're no longer part of who they are. The android and 5 discuss the crew and how 5 is not on the list. She considers herself a big question mark. Meanwhile, 6 attempts to show 3 how to fly the shuttle, but he does not have the same instincts that 6 has. In the meantime, 1 and 2 talk about what they can do for the miners. 1 wonders whether they killed the miner sent to acquire weapons and took them for themselves. 2 wants to stick to the plan, and 1 questions who made her the team leader. She self-appoints herself as leader by stepping up. She later apologizes for being aggressive in their previous discussion, and demands that he return with the others and not stay on the planet to fight on the side of the miners. On the planet, the crew have told the miners the weapons are from their own cargo, that they'll write off to their suppliers. 1 tells Myril that giving them the weapons might just be giving them false hope, and wants her to leave and survive. Keely arrives and wants the crew to join them for a celebration. Later, 5 talks to 2 about their memory erasure not being an accident. The Ferris Corp destroyer ship named Deliverance drops into orbit and sends a shuttle to the planet's surface. 2 tries to warn the crew, but no one is in the shuttle to hear her message. During the celebration, the miners and crew are told that Ferris Corp have arrived, and 1 runs off to help. 2 tries to talk the destroyer down, but the commander of the Deliverance, Neiman, declines and heads to the Raza by shuttle. Afterwards, 1 talks to the captain of Deliverance, Sailhigh, and requests that he and his men withdraw. Sailhigh offers to speak to his superiors, but attacks and in return is beheaded by 4. A gunfight ensues and the miners and Raza crew prevail, taking a sergeant named Voss prisoner. But this does not happen before he notifies the Ferris Corp destroyer that the Raza crew have taken the side of the miners. 2 tells 5 to hide, as she is not meant to be on the ship. 5 finds an air duct and begins crawling through while 2 and the android meet Commander Neiman. 5 then enters 4's quarters and, in a drawer by his bed, finds the box he discovered. Outside, Neiman offers for 2 to escape with no penalty, even with a bonus. Next, the Raza crew on the planet enter the shuttle and discover that the Raza is no longer in orbit. They decide to help the miners and 4 interrogates the imprisoned Voss. He tells the others that Ferris Corp's plan is to target the reactor, and the Raza crew decides to defend the position. They begin training the miners in weapons and combat. 6 opts to fly the shuttle to the Ferris Corp destroyer and take it out to make repeat attacks financially not viable. 6 returns to the shuttle and is taken prisoner by Voss, who has been released by 1 of the miners. Later, the base is attacked and a brutal gunfight ensues. In space, the Raza drops into the planet's orbit escorted by 2 cruisers belonging to one of the largest interstellar corporations, Mickey Combine. 2 then orders the Deliverance to stand down. 1, 3, and 4 charge into battle to discover the Ferris Corp troops are gone, but Nassin has been killed. On the Raza, 2 introduces Neiman to Commander Delaney Truffaut and Commander Seki of the Mickey Combine. 2 advises that the planet is now under the protection of the Mickey Combine because she got a better offer. On the planet, Myril tells 1 that he's welcome to stay, but he decides to leave. They kiss and wish each other luck. Back on board the Raza, 2 outlines to the others the actions she took while away, including the 99-year lease, which protects the planet and would give the miners a 20% share if Ferris Corp were to agree to a revenue-sharing deal. The crew decide to head to the nearest space station to repair and resupply. 4 opens the box, which was presumably unlocked by 5, in the privacy of his quarters to reveal a ring. 2 and 5 discuss their memory erasure, and 5 reveals she has a memory of uploading a program into the stasis core. She reveals that the memory is not her own, but she doesn't know whose memory it is, only that it was done because they're dangerous. After some time, the android gives a report from the bridge and advises the crew that they will arrive at the space station in 26 hours and 7 seconds. 3 wants to sell the ship and split the profits, but the others don't want to do so. 2 says they will refuel, resupply and repair, and if anyone wants to leave they will be given their share of what is left. But the ship isn't being sold. The crew leave their trays with 3 to clean up as they leave the mess hall. 5 approaches 6, wanting to play a game, but he declines. 1 also declines. 4 closes his door on her without a word. She explores a vent again and finds a storeroom, and inside it the dead body of an as yet unknown boy named TJ around her own age. The android scans the body of the boy in the infirmary, stating he appears to be in his mid-teens, and that the temperature in the room was significantly lowered, preserving his body. 2 wants the android to check the body for valuables and jettison him the next time they drop out of the faster-than-light jump or FTL. And before they reach the station, she says they should put it behind them. After the rest of the crew leaves the room, 2 asks the android to do something for her and not tell the others. 4 is practicing with his staff in his quarters when 3 enters and tries to arrange a deal between them to sell the ship, and so they can proceed alone. 4 says it's too soon. They do not know enough about themselves or each other, so for now he stays. But if the day comes when he is no longer pleased with the arrangement, he would still not sell the ship. He would take it for himself. 5 is with TJ's body and discusses his death with 6. She says she stopped at the room because it was like she knew there was something to find. She speculates that she knew him. 6 thinks they are better off not remembering anything and can have a fresh start. 5 reveals that not all memories are gone. 6 takes her to the bridge where 2 and the android are and says that 5 has her memories in her head and that 2 knew about it. The entire crew gather in the mess hall where 2 tells them that 5 has been having dreams that may be their memories and speculates that everyone's memories may have been transferred into 5's subconscious. 2 also tells them that one of 5's dreams involved sabotaging the stasis pods. The android confirms this by describing evidence she found of a self-deleting subroutine that appears to have targeted their memories. The ship then drops out faster than light jump. On the bridge, the android describes the malfunction of a relay that necessitated shutting down the FTL. 3 suggests that someone may be tampering with the ship and singles out 5. The android says the relay is on the outer hull and tampering would require an extravehicular activity, or EVA, which would be impossible during FTL. The android suggests that tampering with the diagnostics system to fool it into thinking the relay had failed would be simple. Doing this would be an excellent way to disable the ship without doing any real damage. 1 asks the android if she can detect lies, to which the android confirms that she can. 3 takes 4 to the vault. While there, he wonders out loud how 4 is so skilled with his blades. 4 says it's instinct. 6 approaches 2 in the hall to discuss 5, and how she is different to them and doesn't belong there. 1 asks them to come to the mess hall. The android begins asking questions to determine whether they are telling the truth about not remembering anything, whether they mean anyone any harm, and whether they have sabotaged the ship. They all pass, but 3 is still not present. 2, 6, and 4 lead him at gunpoint to the mess hall. During his test, a further problem becomes apparent. The Raza is being exposed to high levels of gamma radiation that will kill everyone in 3 hours. On the bridge, the android speculates the cause of the gamma radiation is coming from the remains of a supernova. She offers 2 options. First, they can jump to FTL, but if the relay is actually damaged, there's a 73% chance the ship will explode. If the diagnostic system was sabotaged, there would be nothing wrong and they could jump safely. The second option is to perform an EVA and fix the relay. The android volunteers to go. When beginning the EVA, the android tells the crew of an FTL override accessible from the bridge. As she exits the ship, the crew sees electrostatic discharges on the ship's hull caused by the radiation bombardment. She enters a trench where the relay system is housed and replaces the faulty electrical component. The relay coupling re-engages, but before she can return, an electrostatic discharge strikes the trench and renders her inactive. 3 argues with the others about rescuing the android, and 6 volunteers to help. 3 convinces 4 to secure the bridge and use the FTL override. While suiting up, they hear the FTL drive powering up and approach the bridge. The jump preparations are taking time due to the override. 5 is able to open the door to the bridge, and a standoff occurs. 5 tells 1, 2 and 6 to ignore 3, and aim at 4, revealing that 3's guns are empty. She had sneaked into his room and removed his bullets earlier as she was concerned about the way he had been looking at her since learning she has their memories. When he tries to call her bluff, she pulls his bullets out of her pocket. 4 surrenders and the override is cancelled. 2 guards 3 and 4 while 1 and 6 retrieve the android. 6 receives a shock to his arm from an electrostatic discharge, and his heart stops. 5 gets the android back online, and the android in turn revives 6 with the residual electrostatic charge in her body. Later, she resumes examining 3 for deception, only to reveal he is truthful. They all are. Whoever wiped everyone's memories also wiped their own. But that may have been an accident, as the subroutine was crude. 2 thinks that finding out whoever did it would be next to impossible, and they need to move on. 1 and 2 discuss the crazy day in the training room. The android had tested the faulty part, and determined it really was defective. There was no sabotage. They try to make sense of why their memories were erased. 1 thinks 3 was responsible. He kisses 2, then apologizes before leaving the room. 5 returns to the room where she found the boy's body, and opens a box that had been behind him. Inside she finds an electronic card and a gun. Her expression becomes fearful. The Raza has resumed course for the station, and the android gives a report from the bridge. She states they will arrive 11 hours and 23 minutes, and that she programmed an 8 AM wake-up call. 3 enters and tells her to stop. 6 tends to the burn on his arm. At the station they are heading to, a man questions a bartender about the Raza. The man, who looks exactly like 1, identifies himself to the bartender as Jace Corso, which is the real name of 1. The gang discusses over breakfast what fun things they're going to buy with their riches, but their fantasies are squelched by the ever-realistic 2, who informs them that, after refueling, repair, and docking costs, they're left with nothing. They commence with scouring the ship for stuff to sell at the space station, including their cargo of weapons. On the space station, 1 and 3 bribe a bartender to find a buyer for their guns while 6 goes to the doctor to have his burned arm treated. Meanwhile, 5 proves herself as a proficient gambler, and she and 2 go to the casino. In the meantime, 1 and 3 arrive at the dark habitat of their buyer, but they're soon knocked out by knockout gas, overseen by a mystery man with a face-covering helmet. They wake up to find themselves tied back to back in chairs, with nobody in sight. While this is happening, 4 takes his mysterious ring to a pawn shop. There, the clerk assumes that it must be a very good knockoff of an extremely valuable ring belonging to somebody in the Ishida line. When the clerk realizes it's genuine, he informs 4 that the ring is not something 1 finds, but something you kill for. Scared, he wants no part of it and closes shop early, giving no further information to the frustrated 4. In the rather depressing waiting room of the doctor's office, 6 watches a commercial for Transfer Transit. It is a technology that allows the client to rest comfortably in a pod whilst their clone endures the physical rigors of journeying to distant star systems. From there, the pleasant memories and experiences of exploring other worlds are transferred to the actual client. Meanwhile, the masked man reveals himself to his prisoners, 1 and 3. It's the other Jace Corso, the look-alike of 1. Corso then questions 1 about whether he's a clone, a long-lost twin, or somebody who has had extensive reconstructive surgery to look like him. 1 explains his amnesia and 3 tries to back him up, but Corso doesn't buy it. Then, 1 asks Corso how he found out that someone stole his identity in the first place. Corso reveals that he first got suspicious when he accepted a hot offer from a corporation to work with the legendary Raza in taking out a group of miners. The day Corso was supposed to join up, the Galactic Authority got an anonymous tip and raided his safe house, putting him on the run for a week. When he phoned his employers to apologize for missing the gig, they informed him that they saw him boarding with the rest of the crew. Corso's story fails to jog 1's memory, so he resorts to torture with a shock stick. 3 offers to give Corso the ship's entire weapons booty in exchange for his freedom. However, Corso says he'll take the weapons and leaves 1 and 3 tied up. At the casino, 2 and 5 are winning big. In fact, a somewhat scary-looking guy in a suit starts to eyeball them. He signals to another scary-looking guy in a suit and they take 2 and 5 away, leaving their winnings at the table. In a private room, the casino goons accuse 2 and 5 of cheating. When 5 protests, the head goon slaps her, prompting 2 to kill every single one of them with her bare hands. Both women are shocked and terrified by 2's mastery of violence, and they run away as fast as they can. On the Raza, Corso shows up and just wheels out the weapons, as the android doesn't realize that he's not 1. In Corso's lair, 1 comes up with a plan to shift their seats over to the shock stick on a nearby table, which they'll use to zap through their metal straps. They work together to approach the table inch by inch and put their theory to the test. 6 finally gets in to see a doctor, who tells him that he'll need to form a new skin graft from his DNA in order to heal the burn wound. When the doctor puts Six's DNA sample into a computer, he sees a record of Six's crimes, along with a bold message to apprehend him. The suddenly nervous-looking doctor pushes a red button. Six begins to suspect that something's amiss when the doctor then tries to give him an injection for the pain. Six grabs the needle and injects the doctor instead. He then checks out the computer screen and escapes the doctor's office, taking advantage of the receptionist's total lack of interest in her job. 2, 5, and 6 get back on the ship and agree that they need to get out of there as soon as possible. But they can't reach 1 and 3. When the space station security alarm goes off, 2 makes the call that they need to leave 1 and 3 behind. But the odd couple shows up at the last possible minute. The gang asks 1 and 3 why they have no weapons and no money, after which 3 protects 1 by making up a story about getting jumped by a gang. When 1 confronts him about his lie later, 3 blackmails him into becoming his ally when it comes to swaying the crew's group voting sessions. 2 tries to talk to 5 about her violent outburst, but 5 will have none of it and runs away. 6 and 2 commiserate about the fact that they ended up worse off than when they started, and they still don't know anything about their identities. In the final scene, 4 watches a news program about the assassination of Emperor Ishida Tatsuya by his own son, Crown Prince Ishida Ryo. The prince has killed and disfigured over 100 people, and is on the run, unstable and extremely dangerous. In a shocking twist, the displayed photograph of Ishida Ryo looks a lot like 4. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the notification, and leave 1,000 likes or 100 comments if you'd like us to continue part 2. Thank you.